Well, since we're waiting, and I was going to wait to do it at the council meeting, and I might do it at the council meeting as well, but I just want to thank you, Councillor Bassan, and your husband, Ori, for helping to get over 1,000 people vaccinated on the Southwest Mesa, which was just an incredible event. And I'm just so proud that we were able to do it in an area that's just so underserved. And I just got tons of calls about people excited that it was convenient and that it was in the area. And I was as pleased as could be. The afternoon, I went in the morning, and BSO didn't let me in. They said I would have to wait to get in the line. And I ended up taking some pictures from my car, but in the afternoon, as you know, it was my grandson's celebration that he had received his confirmation earlier in the week. So I wasn't able to go for the later part of the day, but I just was, I even got calls this morning about people. And I think Ori had said that there was folks saying that they were carpooling people. I got a call from the Bacas, the Griegos, another lady, I think her name is Sanders or something like that. And so anyway, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yes. And thank you. And I know I saw an email on the other side of everything that we're doing, that they're working on making it standing. So I can't wait to figure out a more routine event that we can hold and you can host down there.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, we are live.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, all. Today is April 12th, 2021, and I now call this meeting to order. We are in the Finance and Government Operations Committee of the City Council. Almost all the committee members are present today via Zoom. Councillor Harris should be joining us momentarily, but is excused for now. This is a remote or online meeting where all participants will be on video or audio conference. We're holding this meeting remotely so that everyone can participate safely while we are conducting business under the public health emergency. We appreciate your patience as FGO meetings are conducted this way. Written comments were received for today's meeting and were provided to members of the committee. Members of the public will be able to address the committee if they have signed up for live public comment per the rules published on the agenda and on our website Friday. Speakers will be moved into the meeting room 2 at a time. They will remain muted with their camera off until they are called upon to speak, at which point they can turn their camera on, unmute themselves, and will have 1.5 minutes to provide comments to the committee. After that, they will again be muted and return to be an attendee of the Zoom webinar. Members of the public, city staff, and the media have the ability to view this meeting live through YouTube and the Zoom webinar. The live stream can be accessed from most smartphones, tablets, or computers. And for those watching on the live stream, thank you for joining us. We will go ahead and begin with public comment. Mr. Moyo, we have public comment this evening?
Madam Chair, yes, we have one person signed up to speak today, and it's Miss Peggy Norton. Miss Norton, if you would like to start your video, feel free to, and unmute yourself.
Mr. Moya, I'm just going to go over a couple ground rules real quick. I skipped that part because I wasn't sure if we had public and people showed up. Hello, Miss Norton, and to those of us joining us, to those of you joining us. If you're watching the YouTube live feed for this meeting, please go ahead and mute or turn it off at this time. Here are the public comment ground rules. Comments are to be addressed to the committee members only. You will have 1.5 minutes to present, and any disruptive comment will result in removal from the Zoom meeting room. There will be the 1.5 minute time limit, and the timer will start once you begin speaking. And I think Mr. Moya already moved you on in here, and we're ready to go, Ms. Norton.
Good afternoon, commissioners. And I didn't expect to be leading off this meeting. I did send in written comments. I'm president of the North Valley Coalition, and we were initially concerned about a neighborhood receiving permit parking and finding out there were very little guidelines for doing that permit parking. And so we're very pleased to support ordinance 054, which sets up some guidelines, considerations for how we can do permit parking for neighborhoods that actually need them, and what the guidelines for determining those needs might be. And I guess I was a little vague on the ordinance, and so I'm looking forward to discussion about it as to who exactly does what. It looks like there is a little more administrative oversight with the mayor and city council. We're pleased to see that. This is something that affects the whole city because there are city parks that this could happen with. There's the zoo area, a lot of places that maybe get inundated at certain times. I'm concerned that some of this inundation is from the COVID, people only being allowed to go certain places and outdoors. And so I don't want actions being taken just because of COVID. So there's our support. We have had several meetings discussing this, and including with the neighborhood associations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Norton. Madam Chair, that concludes public comments.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moya. We will go ahead and now move on to agenda item A, EC 306, approving a supplemental agreement with Jaramillo Law Firm, PC. I move approval.
Second.
Thank you. And there's a second from Councilor Borrego. Is there any discussion? Mr. Jaramillo, I see you're here. Would you like to say anything?
No, I just I'm here to answer any questions you all have. It's been my great privilege to represent the city of my birth. I'm a proud West Sider, West Mesa High School graduate, Chaparral Roadrunner, John Adams Panther, West Mesa Mustang. All my family still lives on the West Side. And it's my honor to work with you all in my way. And so I have enjoyed working with all of you during the session, and I look forward to, if you all renew my contract, another session next year and the interims that will take place between now and then.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jaramillo. Councilors, do you have any questions or comments? All right, well, Ms. Hinojos, if you want to, oh, sorry, Councilor Sena. Gosh, sorry, my apologies. Go ahead, Councilor Sena.
All right. I just wanted to thank Mr. Jaramillo for his work during this session. I know that things were really challenging, even more so than the rest of previous sessions. Learning to really navigate and really advocate for the city and for all of Albuquerque, virtually at times, staying up really late at night as debate continued. But I just wanted to thank you, and thank you for the really thorough update that you provided last time as well. I just wanted to extend my appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sena. I see that Councilor Harris has joined us for the record, and thank you, welcome. And I see the mayor's conference room has something to add, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd like to just say thank you to David for all the work that he's done in helping us out. I also would request, if this does pass, that we can request immediate action so we can take final action at the next council meeting, because Mr. Jaramillo has been performing his services without pay, and I'd just like to get him paid.
Well, now, why would you want to do such a thing? Just teasing. Thank you so much. All right, seeing no further questions or comments, Ms. Hinojos, if you'll please take a vote.
Councilor Borrego. Yes. Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor Pena.
Yes, thanks for all your work.
Councilor Sena.
Yes.
Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Hinojos. I would like to make a motion for immediate action. See Councilor Sena for a second with that. Ms. Hinojos?
Councilor Borrego. Yes. Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor Pena.
Yes.
Councilor Sena.
Yes.
Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Jaramillo.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a nice one.
You too. We will move on to agenda item B. This is EC 307, ground lease agreement between Saylor Family Trust and the City of Albuquerque located at 3712 Edith Boulevard Northeast. I move approval. Counselor Pena has a second, and Counselor Sena, thank you. Counselors, any questions or comments? All right, Missy Nohos, if you'll please take a roll call vote.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes, Counselor Borrego is not here right now. She'll be excused.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item C, EC 309.
All right, Counselor, I had to step away for a minute.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. No worries. EC 309 is the ground lease agreement between Mary Beth Malloy and Dion Patrick Malloy and the City of Albuquerque located at 6325 Hanover Road Northwest and 1301 and 1010 64th Street Northwest. I move approval. I see Counselor Sena has a second. Any questions or comments, counselors? Okay, Missy Nohos with the roll call vote, please.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item D is EC 312, Legal Department's quarterly litigation report for the second quarter of FY 2021 greater than 10,000. I move a receipt be noted. Thank you, Counselor Sena. With a second, any questions or comments, counselors? Missy Nohos?
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Pena. Counselor Pena? Yes. Okay, thank you. Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Agenda item E is EC 313, 2020 Workforce Housing Trust Fund Report. I move a receipt be noted.
Second.
Okay, Counselor Borrego and Counselor Sena with a second. I don't know if anybody is here with that this evening to offer any kind of update or comments. Counselor Sena, you have a question?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, thank you. I was actually asking if anyone was here to present on this item, and I see Director Pierce.
Thank you. Welcome, Director.
Thank you, Counselor Bassan and Counselor Sena. This is an annual report that we do provide to the council on this fund. And I know this is an important fund for our community for really developing affordable housing projects. This project highlights how we've used those funds for this year. I did just want to offer that as we use these funds, it's often complicated projects that the Workforce Housing Trust Fund is used often. Sometimes we use the words of some gap financing as other pools and resources are used. But at the end point, it is about really affordable housing projects. So this report summarizes those various projects.
Thank you, Director. Counselors, any other questions or comments? All right, sounds good, Missy. Oh, Counselor Sena, are you good? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up if Director Pierce, if you and I can follow up on a few of these properties. Just some issues were brought to my attention and would love to follow up offline so that maybe we can have more community get in touch with you on some of the issues.
Counselor Bassan and Counselor Sena. Counselor Sena, I would welcome that. And I will include some of our team members here at Family and Community that are very much involved in the execution of these contracts and these projects. So I'd welcome that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Ms. Hinojos?
Counselor Borrego,
yes,
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item F is EC 314, submission of the 5-year forecast FY 2021 to FY 2025. I move a receipt be noted.
second,
Okay, Counselor, I saw Counselor Sena, Counselor Borrego with the second. Thank you. Counselors, any discussion or questions? Ms. Hinojos, if you will, please.
Counselor Borrego,
yes,
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item G is O54. I will go ahead and move this for Counselor Benton, who I did see is here with us tonight or this afternoon. O54 is amending the traffic code to implement additional guidance for the establishment of new residential permit parking areas. I move a do pass. And I see Counselor Sena with a second. Counselor Benton, would you like to say anything?
Yes, if I could, Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity. Just quickly, I think everyone on the committee was at the council meeting where we did pass the resolution, which calls for essentially what's this ordinance as presently drafted would answer the questions that were outlined in that resolution that was passed by the council. And I think I could probably, if okay, if he's available, turn it over to Mr. Melendres, but just a little bit of background as a reminder for anyone who didn't hear it at our last council meeting. This arose in an area where these residential parking permits have not been utilized historically. That it's a more rural area with large lots and houses that have plenty of parking on there. Typically, I think just about every house in this area has plentiful off-street parking of their own. And this instead came up because of the high demand for public access to the nearby open space, the Rio Grande State Park, the Nature Center, and the city and county multi-use trails in the area became very popular during the pandemic. And so some of that demand for on-street parking became more in demand, I guess I should say, or the limited amount of on-street parking. The Nature Center does have a parking lot of its own that is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. A lot of folks tend to want to be in these places outside of those hours. So a fairly large area, I think maybe an unprecedentedly large amount of street was taken off the books for any public parking and was reserved strictly for residents as part of this action. There's disagreement among the neighborhoods about it. There's certainly no consensus, but I think Mr. Melendres can kind of explain when we looked into the enabling legislation that was written apparently years ago. It has an extreme paucity of any guidance to the to the administration on its formulation of rules for adoption of this type of prohibition on public parking and reservation of the public right of way for residents only. So I'll just ask Mr. Melendres if he could fill us in on whatever I've forgotten about that, and then see if I'll open up to the committee, and if there are any other questions, stand available to answer.
Madam Chair, committee, the ordinance does presently authorize residential parking by permit only areas. However, as Councilor Benton mentioned, there's no guidance on when that should be utilized or implemented in the city. Historically, we've seen these types of areas. Maybe the best example is the UNM area. And for those of us who attended UNM at various stages, we know that you can't park on the streets near campus because you're supposed to find other ways to get there, and it's not supposed to overwhelm the neighborhoods with parking such that they're completely displaced. However, that policy guidance is not included in the ordinance. In fact, there's no policy guidance in the ordinance on how it should be used. So this amendment would simply update that section of the parking ordinance to add a few criteria and requirements for the creation of new residential parking by permit only areas. Those criteria would include an analysis of the demand for on-street parking on the affected streets relative to parking availability and the parking needs of area residents. It would look for an analysis of the relative value of on-street parking for non-area residents to allow them to access community amenities or resources such as open space or et cetera. And it would also have the city look at economic development and support for commerce and whether or not those are implicated in imposing on-street parking limitations. In addition, it would require that at least one community meeting be held so that folks can participate in some form, voice their concern or support for this type of thing in a community meeting. And also, when one of these is created, it would require some publicity, I guess, some public notice in the form of executive communication to come through council, to be processed through the legislative process, so that it can be sort of publicized through the council process and also just be known by council at that time. That is what this ordinance amendment would do. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Melendres. Councilors, do you have any questions or comments? Councilor Sena?
Yeah, thank you for that, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councilor Benton, for bringing this forward. I was just curious, I think you mentioned, Councilor Benton and Chris gave another great example too of the two areas. I'm very well familiar with the UNM area, having gone there for both undergrad and grad school, of just the difficulty of parking and having friends living in the area as well. Having had friends being ticketed too, just for living parking in that area. So are there other examples throughout the city that you can give that this would also fall in line with?
Yes, Madam Chair and Councilor Sena, the other probably primary examples that I would say would be downtown. The neighborhoods surrounding downtown, where parking is at a premium within the downtown core itself. And in fact, there are no parking requirements downtown, and it's almost all metered or controlled in some way. But then the neighborhoods that are just beyond the boundaries of downtown, I think that's another good example of where the impact could be pretty substantial on those neighborhoods. Also, those older neighborhoods were built prior to any zoning, and in some cases don't have much off-street parking on their private property. So even if you're a single-family resident near downtown, your home may or may not have much in the way of off-street parking, or it might have some back on an alley, and where a lot of those alleys have been built out with construction on the alley, and there's not much remaining. So that's a good example. Also, East Downtown, when it kind of took off after they built Old Albuquerque High was repurposed into housing, that added a lot of housing parking demand. But also at the same time, commerce took off pretty strongly in that section of Central, that corridor between 25 and Broadway. And that was another place where this was instituted, in the blocks that were the closest to the commercial corridor. Similar kind of situation to downtown, maybe on a mini scale. Those are the two that I know of. Primarily, historically, it's been concentrated in those areas around UNM and downtown and East Downtown. So this provision in the original traffic code is really short. If you look at the bill, I mean, the part that's left, that's not new language, is pretty small, and it really just says that they shall create this program. And what's been developed over the years are these petitions, where if 51% or more of the residents on a street request it, then it can be granted by the parking division, and that's what happened here. And it had pretty strong support from the neighborhood, no question about it. The question that arises, though, is a lot of these other situations. And this is why we included the words economic development in there. You know, we want economic development and redevelopment in a place like East Downtown or West Downtown. But we need to balance that with the needs of residents. So this was a new situation that occurred where it was really just about people not wanting the nuisances that go along with public use of their street. And of course, there are all sorts of nuisances we're dealing with these days, including racing and everything else on the public street. But these conflicts over parking are, and especially with regard to open space, are very are really new. And when we talk about something like a park or a popular public place of some kind that also has parking, has residential streets nearby, there needs to be some sort of balance, it seems. It would seem that we want to balance more and not do these wholesale actions that take entire areas out of the picture in terms of public parking.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Any other questions or comments, councillors? Awesome. Ms. Hinojos, please, if you'll take a vote.
Councilor Borrego,
Yes.
Councilor Harris,
Yes.
Councilor Pena,
Yes.
Councilor Sena,
Yes.
Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Madam
much.
Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. We will move on to agenda item H, 055. Councillor Borrego.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 055 is amending sections 30, I'm sorry, not 30, 1352-1, the Albuquerque Cable Franchise and Hearing Board, to rename it to the Albuquerque Cable Internet and PEG Advisory Board, to enlarge its membership, to augment its duties to reflect changes in the Comcast franchise renewal ordinance and technologies, and to provide a PEG appeal process. And I move that particular bill.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councillor Sena, thank you. Any questions or comments, councillors? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Hinojos, if you'll please take a vote. Okay, oh, Ms. Iverson, you're here. Would you like to say anything? No, okay. Ms. Hinojos, if you'll please take a vote.
Councilor Borrego,
Yes.
Councilor Harris,
Yes.
Councilor Pena,
Yes.
Councilor Sena, Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. I imagine this next item on our agenda is why Ms. Iverson is here on the screen now. This is for Counselor Benton, is 057, relating to the redevelopment, leasing, and sale of a metropolitan redevelopment project within the Sycamore Metropolitan Redevelopment Area, consistent with the terms of the Sycamore Metropolitan Redevelopment Plan, approving the Metropolitan Redevelopment Application entitled Spring Hill Suites Metropolitan Redevelopment Application, authorizing the acquisition of land and existing improvements and construction of a building within the Sycamore Metropolitan Redevelopment Area, authorizing the disposition by lease and sale of the city's interest in such project to Urban Highlands East LLC, its successors and assigns, authorizing the execution and delivery of a lease agreement and other documents in connection with the project, making certain determinations and findings relating to the project, ratifying certain actions taken previously, and repealing all actions inconsistent with this ordinance. I move it do pass. Thank you, Councilor. If I had to say metropolitan redevelopment one more time in there, I might have gotten tongue twisted. Ms. Iverson, would you like to present or discuss anything on this first?
I am really excited to bring this. This is a great project. It's a $50 million project creating 228 units. This building is actually going to be a 6-story building, and I don't think we have had a 6-story building quite some time in Albuquerque in the central corridor. So it is really a magnitude that will really have a catalytic impact. This, of course, is the third phase of the whole Highlands Master Plan that we have been seeing manifest over the past couple of years. So we're really excited to have it. This is being processed differently. That we have done what have been called metropolitan redevelopment bonds. So how these ordinances used to read was the city of Albuquerque issues $50 million redevelopment bonds, which really created a lot of confusion about what was happening. And the past 6, we've had a lot of folks come in and want metropolitan redevelopment bonds lately, which is a great indicator of the market picking back up. But there was no financial transaction on behalf of the city. And so all of the folks who've done this recently, they don't actually use the bonding to finance the project. It was just sort of legal gymnastics that we were requiring them to go through in order to get the tax abatement. That was really the end goal of going through the bond gymnastics. So what we have worked through legal with, and Chris Muirhead is on the line here to answer any questions, is we thought about, do we really need to go through this bonding exercise? And can we just call it an MR tax abatement and simplify things? And what that does is it cuts out at least $40,000 from the applicant in paying attorney fees, but it also makes the program more accessible to projects that are more moderately scaled, right? We only see these for the big, $20, $30, $50 million projects, but those smaller scale projects, the more infill projects, they don't have the capital to pay $40,000 up front to get this. And they don't sort of have the legal bandwidth to go through all the gymnastics that the bonding requires. So we were really excited to be able to work through those and be able to process this just as a tax abatement. And so that is what you have before you. And both Chris Muirhead and the applicant, Kurt Browning with Titan, are in the Zoom room if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Iverson. We do have an amendment. I see Councilor Borrego, you have something to say. Do you want to add to it now, or shall we move the amendment first?
We can do the amendment and then I have some questions.
Thank you, Councilor. So real fast, I would like to move Amendment 1, I guess, to 02157. On page 1, line 7, delete Spring Hill Suites Metropolitan Redevelopment Application and insert in lieu thereof Highlands East. This is to correct an error in the title of the bill. Thank you, Councilor Sena, for a second. And Ms. Hinojos, if you will please take a vote.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Counselor Borrego, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wondered, Karen, are we going to see a development agreement come forward on this to us after this approval?
Ms. Iverson, you're on mute.
Thank you. Through the chair, Counselor Borrego, no, this is not a development agreement. We're not providing land or any other financial contribution other than providing the tax abatement.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Counselors, any other questions? Mr. Browning, did you want to go ahead and add anything?
I do not, Madam Chair, Councilors. It's a great project. We've been working on it for some time. I know Councilor Benton is also on this call. We've worked hand in hand with him for probably 5 years now, and we're very excited about what's happening out at the Highlands.
Thank you so much, Mr. Browning, for being here. Ms. Hinojos, if you'll go ahead and take a roll call vote as amended, please.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item J. It's R131. Counselor Sena.
Madam Chair, R131 is a nuisance substandard dwelling or structure in need of abatement at 376 Dolores Drive Northwest within the city limits of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was so ruined, damaged, and dilapidated as to be a menace to the public comfort, health, peace, or safety, and that is to be required to be removed. I move a due pass. And if I can have Mr. Williams, there he is.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second that motion. And Mr. Williams, Director, if you'd like to give us all an update, please.
Madam Chair, thank you. Members of the committee, this is a single-family dwelling that has been deemed and posted substandard by code enforcement since July of 2016. There still are a few emergency calls for service. Specifically, the police department has been out to the property at least on 3 different occasions in the past year. There are 6 current liens against the property for boarding and cleanup work, totaling about $2,300. But if there's a silver lining to this situation, it looks like the property changed ownership a couple years ago. And beginning in February of this year, the relatively new owner began pulling permits for improvements to the site. They've also submitted a building permit for some structural changes they're making to the home last week. And because of that, work is progressing. Code enforcement has been in contact with the new owner. That owner indicates that these improvements, the rehab work on the property, should be completed within a couple months. So certainly at the committee's pleasure, we would not be opposed to some sort of a deferral to allow this matter to allow the property owner to continue the work and hopefully wrap things up and get this property back on the market so that it can be a worthwhile use of this particular piece of property. We'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director. Counselor Sena.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director. I was informed that possibly the owner would be here today. Is that true? No luck?
Madam Chair, Counselor Sena, that was my understanding. Let me check again here. I did not see, no ma'am, I don't see anybody logged in, but I am aware that the owner was made aware of this particular hearing this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, Director Williams. I will be deferring this issue just for a month at the next FGO meeting, just so that we can keep them on their toes. We would love to hear another story like Everett, where that continued pressure got us to really rehabilitate the property, and just looking at the pictures and the image of the property, it looks pretty promising, and I would hate to see good bones like that go to waste. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to defer R131 till our next FPO meeting, and hopefully we'll have more updates and maybe the property owner will come too.
Second,
Sounds good, Counselor Sena. Thank you, Counselor Borrego. Ms. Hinojos, please.
Counselor Borrego,
yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Peña,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item K, which is R132, and this is you, Counselor Sena.
Chair. R132 is a nuisance substandard dwelling or structure in need of abatement at 5912 Sweetwater Drive Northwest within the city limits of Albuquerque, New Mexico, is so ruined, damaged, and dilapidated as to be a menace to public comfort, health, peace, or safety, and that it is to be required to be removed. I move it do pass.
I will second that. Director, would you like to work your magic?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is another single-family dwelling that has been deemed and posted substandard by our code enforcement team since April of 2015. While there haven't been any calls, emergency calls for service, code enforcement continues to monitor the property. There are 15 liens for boarding and cleanup work that have taken place at the site, totaling about $7,400 cumulatively. This is an out-of-state owner, and multiple attempts have been made to contact them. They were made aware of today's hearing, but unfortunately, code enforcement has not received any communication from the owner. Because of that, and because the property remains in violation, we're asking that this matter move forward to full council. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director. Counselor Sena?
Madam Chair, can you let me know, Director Williams, how long have we been working on this property? About 6 years, is that correct?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Sena, Councilor Sena, that's correct, ma'am. Since April 1st of 2015 was when the property was originally posted as uninhabitable.
You know, as we were stating on the previous property, that our hope is that it turns into a better situation, and that I think moving it to full council will apply a little bit more pressure to the property owners. You know, this house is also really beautiful. I could see the potential, but also know that community in the area and the neighborhoods have also been having some issues with the vacant property. So I'm going to move this to full council and just hope that that will put some more pressure to the people to really come to council. I really do hope that we can get in touch with them so that we can have a conversation. And I really think that that's what these nuisance abatements are really trying to do. We always hope to try to save these properties as much as possible and work with the owners. So thank you for that update, and thank you for code enforcement to continue to work on this.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, any other questions or comments? All right, Ms. Hinojo. Oh, Counselor Peña.
Sorry, that was a delayed response. I just wanted to say thank really everybody on this call. You know, I've usually voted against these projects just because sometimes, you know, there's some issues associated with, you know, mental health, maybe substance abuse, and people are losing their homes, and really just trying to maintain home ownership in the city of Albuquerque. And I'd always had a criticism that we don't have any program in place to assist people in keeping their homes in terms of helping with renovations or some of these necessary items that need to be remediated. And through this last capital outlay, capital cycle, you all voted for some dollars. I think it was in the amount of $3 million to create such a program to help do this. So I'm going to vote no on these next two if it's the same recommendation, but I look forward to being able to vote on these with good conscience as we move forward. And thank you all for your vote on that.
Thank you, Counselor Peña. Ms. Hinojos, if you'll go ahead and take a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
No.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes on a 4-1 vote.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item L is 135. I will go ahead and move this for Counselor Benton. It's a nuisance substandard dwelling or structure in need of abatement at 1717 Edith Boulevard Southeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico 87102. Within the city limits of Albuquerque, New Mexico is so ruined, damaged, and dilapidated as to be a menace to the public comfort, health, peace, or safety that it is to be required to be removed. I move a do pass.
Second, Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor Borrego. And Director Williams, if you will please give us an update on this one.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, this is a single-family dwelling that has been posted substandard for approximately 6.5 years. There have been no emergency calls for service within the last year, but there are 6 existing liens totaling $4,300. The property is still in violation, and code enforcement has made multiple attempts to contact the property owner. According to the county assessor, the owner lives just about 3 blocks away from the site, but despite those multiple attempts, as well as the efforts from code enforcement and solid waste to board and clean up that property, the owner has still not come forward to address these issues. Consequently, we would request that this matter moves forward to full council. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director. I feel that it would be fair to echo what Counselor Sena said about this last one in hopes that perhaps this might be motivational to the property owner to work with us a little bit more actively on remediating this property. So I will continue with this motion on behalf of Counselor Benton. Any comments or questions, counselors?
Counselor Bassan?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, Mr. Williams, how long has this property been in this condition, and when did we file on this one? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, Councilor Borrego, again, this has been posted substandard since July of 2015.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, counselors. Thank you, Director. Ms. Hinojos?
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
No.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
That passes on a 4-1 vote.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item M, R145, approving and authorizing the filing of grant applications and the acceptance of potential grant awards for multiple transit department programs from the Federal Transit Administration, FTA, of the United States Department of Transportation, and providing for an appropriation to the Transit Department. I move a do pass.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Borrego, and I see Counselor Sena as well. Thank you. I think I saw Director Allen was on this call. And Director
I'm the next one.
You're the, oh gosh.
Oh,
It's
Danny.
Yes, Director Holcomb, you're here. Thank you. See, I just got carried away with FTA, right? And transit and air.
FTA, FAA. I mean, it's easy. It happens.
My apologies to both of you. Again, happy Monday. Director Holcomb, welcome. Would you please share some info about this?
So actually, if you don't mind, Counselor or Chairman, I'm going to defer to Chris Payton. He's our Associate Director. He's our Finance Manager, Acting Associate Director. Or Associate Director, Acting Finance Manager. So if you don't mind, I'm going to defer to him. He certainly has a lot more information on this than I do. But I'm still here.
Thank you, Director. Welcome, Mr. Payton.
Yeah, thank you, counselors. So this is our annual omnibus bill that is providing us the ability to make application for kind of our annual grants that we receive from FTA. So this is everything from revenue vehicles to bus stops to technology. And it's really just kind of a normal thing every year. we didn't get included in the last omnibus bill that was done citywide last summer. We just failed to get involved in that, and we'll be included in the next one. But these are really just annual FTA grants.
Thank you. Counselors, do you have any questions, comments? Counselor Sena?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Payton, if you can clarify, these are just potential grants and this has not been included in our budget. Is that correct? In our operating budget, I should mention.
Councilor Sena, yeah. So these are capital grants that will be used for capital purposes, and so it is part of. I guess it's part of the local match that's being provided as part of the CIP money that we've received and been voted on through the GO bond process. But these the federal portion of these grants, yeah, is what you're authorizing today. Hopefully.
All right, thank you. And you know, I was reading through, I guess I know because you're stating it's an omnibus, it has a different component, it's a little bit nuanced, but I found it really important to know, just for the public too, that this is to support safe and affordable integrated transportation options associated with our goal in public infrastructure for the city's 5-year goal plan. Can you kind of touch, I guess, in a high level way of how each of these kind of serve that purpose?
Yeah, so our overall goal, which is public infrastructure, which is goal number 3, and then we have a desired community condition of safe and affordable transportation options are provided. And so this is, this is including revenue vehicles, which helps provide those safe, transportation of passengers. This will include technology, which will help pay for not only cameras for those buses, but it also will provide for PCs and servers that help support the whole department. It may include facility rehab money, which helps support our facilities, both the Yale and Daytona maintenance facilities. And then it also includes all the bus stop money, help kind of change out our lighting, as well as the batteries on a lot of those shelters. So again, it's just kind of a lot of general money that hopefully provides that support to make sure we continue to have safe and affordable transportation options for City of Albuquerque residents. Does that?
Councilor Sena, are you good with that?
Yeah, just one more follow-up question. We're talking about bus stops. We were talking about this more recently in the community, that there has been a rise in incidents of discrimination, hate, violence, particularly in the Asian American Pacific Islander community. And I know we had some signs to disperse in multiple languages. And I guess this question is for Director Holcomb, if those have been posted in the bus stops or in buses.
Madam Chair, Councilor Sena, yes, they have been posted in buses. We've had signs posted in, gosh, I wish I knew exactly how many different languages there were. I'd say probably 10 or 11 different languages, and those are on the buses.
All right, thank you. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. I see Councilor Pena.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not as important a question that Councilor Sena just asked, but is some of this money going to be for the trash cans that I've been bugging for at the bus stops?
Madam Chair and Councilor Pena, I think we have that money separate from the trash cans you're asking for.
Okay.
I think we're good. We've got it covered.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilor Borrego, Madam President.
Thank you. This is really not related to this particular question, this particular bill, but it is somewhat related. So last year we received a separate allocation of CARES funding for transit And I don't know if we're going to be receiving another separate allocation of CARES funding this go round, or if we already have.
Madam Chair and Councilor Borrego, President Borrego, yes, we are going to be receiving some money. It's still need to be negotiated. There's a certain percentage of that goes to Rio Metro, and then we get another percentage. So we're still trying to figure out exactly what that breakup is going to be, but we will be expecting some money this year from the relief fund.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'm still waiting on my little bus shelter on Coors and Eagle Ranch. I just throw that in. I know you guys are working on it.
Thank you, counselors. Director, you now have your laundry list from the FGO committee.
My list gets longer every day.
Well, we invite you back to the next
Thank you.
FGO meeting and we'll continue to add to it. Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments from the council, then we'll go ahead and take a vote, please.
Councilor Borrego,
Yes.
Councilor Harris,
Yes.
Councilor Pena,
Yes.
Councilor Sena,
Yes.
Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we are going to move on to, let me see if I can get this one right this time. R146, Councilor Pena.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our 21-146 is amending the adopted capital implementation program for the City of Albuquerque Aviation Department by transferring funds from existing projects, closing projects, approving new projects, and accepting federal and state grants. I move a due pass. And I mean, I think we have the director here. She can say it all, but this is just really could potentially receive $22 million from the Federal Transit Administration. Funding of $4 million will be appropriated and will consist of 3.9 from the Transit Capital Implementation Program Fund and or the transfer of capital grants from the Transit Operating to the Capital Grants Fund. I think I captured it all, but I think the director is here.
Thank you.
Dr. Allen, and she can brief us on it if anyone has.
Thank you, Councilor Pena. I see that Councilor Sena has a second. Thank you. Now, Director Allen, unless you want me to call Dr. Holcomb back, just teasing. So if you would like to elaborate further, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We appreciate you all supporting this initiative. We always need our capital program updated. We've been very fortunate enough to receive a few different streams of funding from CARES and the newest CURSA funding from the FAA. And so we need to allocate those dollars. And we have quite a few large projects that we're excited about in the coming years. And this just continues to make sure that our capital program on the city side aligns with what we're doing. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Director. Councilor Sena?
I just had a question. I know it just broadly it touched on Double Eagle Airport and some of the improvements, but since it's in the district, I just wanted to ask specifically. I know it's additional security, but what else is this really touching on for Double Eagle?
That's a good question. It's not touching on too much for Double Eagle. The projects there don't change as significantly or rapidly as the projects for the subport. But as soon as we receive our next allocation of funding, I'm hoping that we can open up a few more things for Double Eagle.
Sure, quick follow-up.
Please.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I'm grateful, and I know that improvements at the Sunport are needed, and would love to follow up in just the discussions for Double Eagle. I know just the area is booming, and we had a study specifically looking at some of this is out there and the potential. We'd love to just have a conversation what else we could be doing. So thank you.
That would be lovely.
Thank you so much, counselors. Thank you, Director. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Hinojos?
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Director. There's only one more piece of very informal business, and it's that I would really like to publicly announce that it is Miss Hinojos' birthday today. And if anyone would like to sing to her, I'm willing to do it with you. Counselors?
Sure.
Okay. So thank you so much for joining me. I will do on a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mandy. Happy birthday to you. I bet that was the best birthday rendition of all time.
Thank
Happy
you
birthday, Mandy.
so much. Thank you. Best gift ever.
I don't know about that. There being no further business today, this meeting of FGO is now adjourned. Thank you all.